All right, today we're going to talk about variables and expressions. Let's go ahead and define each of those words. A variable is a symbol, in most cases in a letter, used to represent a quantity that can change. For example, we will generally be using X, but you might also see Y. You might see T. And there's lots of other things you might see, but those are just a couple of examples. All right, an expression is a mathematical phrase that contains operations, numbers, and/or variables. For example, 2x plus 1 is an expression. 8y is an expression, and there are many others. All right, so let's talk about the operations we're going to be using today. We're going to have addition. All of the words, or some of the words that you might see to represent addition are add, plus, sum, total, more than, or increase. So these are just some of the most common words that you'll see for addition. For subtraction, you might see subtract, minus, less than, less, decrease, or difference. All right, and some of the words you might see to represent multiply. Now remember, multiply can be represented in a couple of symbols. It could look like kind of like an X, or it could look like a dot, or sometimes you might see parentheses. All right, and some of the words, the most common words are multiply, times, and product. And last but not least, we have division. And the two most common words are divide and quotient when dealing with division. So let's go ahead and practice a couple of examples. So if you just want to do like a squiggly across. First examples we're going to do, I'm going to have you write an expression. So given some words, write a mathematical expression using the symbols. So for example, if you were given the words 5 increased by a number x, and I wanted you to represent that using symbols, first thing I want you to look at is that keyword, increased by. So remember, increase falls under addition. So we know we're going to use addition. So it's 5 increased by a number x. So in other words, 5 plus x is how you're going to represent that mathematically. All right, let's try another example. If you were given the words 5 less x, keyword less. Remember, less falls under subtraction. So that means we're going to use a minus sign. So 5 minus x. All right, let's get another example in here. Quotient of x and 5. So keyword you want to look at is quotient. Remember, that one falls under our divide. So that means we're going to use our divide symbol. Quotient of x and 5. In this case, the symbol we're going to use is x divided by 5. That division bar. Okay. All right, last example, because you should be getting the hang of this by now, is just kind of our two tricky examples here. I'm going to combine two in one. If you're ever given something like 5 more than x, or something like 5 less than x, these are kind of our special cases. If you have the words more than or less than, I want you to draw an arrow because this is going to help you remember that in this case we got to mix up the order of our variable and our number. So again, on this one, let's draw the arrow. So if you are given the example 5 more than x, that means you're going to write x first and add 5 to it. Okay, and likewise, if you have 5 less than x, you're going to write the symbol x first and then minus 5. It's saying 5 less than the original x that we started with. So anytime you see less than or more than, you know those are your special cases where you need to draw your arrow and put the number in the back. Okay, the first number in the back. Those are really the only tricky ones. All right, so moving on, let's go to the other examples. So flip over your page if you're out of space like me, onto the back. And now we're going to do the vice versa of that. We're going to be given an expression and you're going to have to write in words. We're just going to do two examples of these. So first example, if you're given the expression 7m, remember if you have a variable and a letter a variable and a number right next to each other like that, that implies multiplication. So there's a couple of ways you can write this. You can write it 5 times m. You can write it multiply 7 and m. You could even say the product of 7 and m. All right, let's try one more example like this. If you are given x divided by 4, okay, there's a couple of different ways you can write this. You can say divide x and 4. You could say x divided by 4. Or you could say the quotient, use that fancy word, quotient of x and 4. All right, those are all the examples for today. Go ahead and rewind if you have any questions on anything. Make sure that you complete that whisk at the bottom.